Hey, it's Yaya Diamond, and I want to welcome you to the show today. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's been a great day, and I have an amazing guest on the show. You're not going to believe this. I didn't believe it. I'm like, yes. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. And I am so pleased to announce that today we have an amazing musician on the show, a trendsetter, a icon. I don't know what else to say. He's just amazing, and he is the beginning of a bunch of different things that I mean, I was very young when I heard his first song, and I was just so excited. So I want to have Bambaataa on the show today. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys, and thank you so much for joining me on the show today.
Oh, yes, giving most blessings upon you, and in the name of the great Supreme Force, who we call by many names. Let's get this interview rocking and rolling.
Definitely. Okay, so we're going to get right into it. So there's a few questions that I wanted to ask you, but I wanted to go right into it. So why are people saying that 2023 is the anniversary of hip-hop culture?
Well, that's because many in the hip-hop community, they're not doing the math or the science. We let a lot of people come into our nation of hip-hop and dictate what they want to tell us and where we should go with our activities, where we should go. As they say, this is the 50th anniversary of hip-hop culture. But most people don't think, when you first say you have a birthday, you don't say, I'm already 1 year old. You have to wait a year before you say you're 1 year old.
Right.
Now, if you want to follow the father, Kool Herc, and you want to say 73, he gave a party, well, I could say the same thing. I gave parties the same time, gave parties when we was the organization, gave parties when we was the Black Stage. No, we don't say that. We say, if you start in 73, which is also with the University of the Nation, was a year before that, but we give a whole year to say that the anniversary of hip-hop culture is the following year, which is 1974. So most people is not doing the math on this, and we just taking a day that somebody gave a party and say it already you give an anniversary when nobody was giving anniversary but Afrika Bambaataa and the University of the Nation was the only group that was giving hip hop culture anniversary tributes first to the King of Soul. We don't want to say the Godfather of Soul no more. We got to put him back in his rightful position, the King of Soul, James Brown, Sly and the Family Stone, George Parliament, Funkadelic, Clinton, Bootsy, and then to all the pioneers of hip hop.
Right.
So that was the year of 1974 when we did this.
Wow.
Because you got to give that 1 year to go. So it's 74 that makes up anniversary. You wouldn't say Grandmaster Flash, the Message, as soon as it come out, it's the anniversary of the Message by Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five. No, you got to wait till the following year so you could say it's the anniversary of the Message.
Wow. That's crazy, though. I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean, you got to wait a year. You have to wait a year. I mean, seriously. So what is the truth in the history behind when hip-hop started?
Well, hip-hop, the culture and the movement, meaning the B-boys, the B-girls, the DJs, the MCs, the aerosol writers or graffiti writers, and everything else you want to put in the beatbox, the style, the dressing. Well, there was no such thing called hip-hop when we all was DJing. Myself, Kool Herc, Disco King, Mario, Cool DJ D, all of us at the time when we was doing that, we just was doing the do, as James Brown said. We could, when it came to me, it was a brother by the name of Lovebug Stocksy, who used to go to the hip, and then Keith Cowboy, who also was part of our family, Lovebug and Keith Cowboy, was part of the Black Space, and was also part of the organization, and also part of the Universal Zulu Nation. where I took the cliche that they was doing in rap, and I said, you know, when I sat down with my people, I said, let's call this hip hop, because we could have said it was the boing yoing, the bebop, the dee bop from Ella Fitzgerald and Cab Calloway, or the poetry raps from the Last Poets or the Last Prophets or Gil Scott Evans. But we started to call it hip hop. And when we gave the first anniversary, we started calling it the tribute to James Brown, Klein and Family Stone, and Parliament Funkadelic. Now, everybody for years came to the Universal Zulu Nation hip hop culture anniversary, even the father Kool Herc. There was no disagreement, no arguments, no nothing. And everybody knows we are the only group that always gave hip hop culture anniversaries every year in different places of the city. We don't like to talk about that we started in the South Bronx or we started in the West Bronx. No, we give honor to the whole New York City because we was doing it first in the Bronx, but then it stretched to all the other boroughs. And as we set out our cassette tapes that was happening at the time, which was like albums, it started stretching into, you know, the different cab companies that we had out there, the luxury cab companies. It started stretching when your family started going into Jersey, going into Brooklyn, going to Staten Island, going into Connecticut. And that's the first way how our music started stretching to other areas of this great country. It was through the cassette tapes.
Definitely. You know, in 1980s, I would say like maybe like the late 70s, the early 80s, I lived in the Bronx and I went to school in the Bronx. I went to middle school and elementary school in the Bronx. And it was amazing. The culture, when hip hop came out, I was a baby. I was young, you know what I mean? But it was like everybody gravitated to it. It was something that it was on every street corner. And so was the music. It was just amazing. And I'm so happy to be talking to you today. You know, and then, like you said, you guys were the foundation. You guys were the first to actually do that, to actually recognize that hip hop began, you know, in the I guess early 70s, right? And so, can you
pulling it as a culture, yeah,
right? And so, okay, so can you tell us about your role in the creation and development of hip hop culture?
Well, my role is saying the name. You know, at that time I was heavy into consciousness. You know, from the Nation of Islam, from the Black Panther Party, and many, you know, at a very young age, my family was all part of these type of groups, and looking at what was going on in the '60s with the civil rights movement, the human rights movement. Seeing, you know, hearing the words of Brother Malcolm X, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, hearing the words of the Last Poets, the Watts Prophets, Sonia Sanchez, who else was Wanda Robinson. These are powerful brothers and sisters who was dropping it lyrically with the poems. See, people got to remember, rap was always in our community. Whether we was doing poetry, whether we was doing the dozens, like Muhammad Ali when he said, your mama this and your mama that. Some people used to want to beat you up because you were talking to dozens. Don't talk about my mama. Or it was even a time when you used to say, yeah, you black something, something. You would fight each other because you didn't want to be called black. That's when you were so-called Negro or colored people. We didn't know our history as the indigenous of this land, because people don't know when we was in Africa, we was also here. Right. People don't know why I always wore the costumes when I had the Indian costume. I would let you know that we are the indigenous, so-called Native American here. When I wear the Viking costume, I said we was also in Europe as the Gramati of the indigenous there. So people don't understand what I was doing. I was wearing all these wild type of clothes and stuff, or dressing like a sultan. That's what I was just let you know that we was the Moors. We was all this and then some. So we always had a concept what we was doing when we was doing hip hop in our culture. And I started calling the B-boys, the B-girls, the DJs, the MCs, the aerosol riders, and many other different things that was out there to come together. Come on, get part of this group we doing, the Universal Zulu Nation. Yes, we did all the gang banging and all that as the different groups we had back then, the Javelins, the Black Slaves, the 70 Immortals, the Savage Skulls, the Savage Nomads and all that. But then we start saying, it's time to stop all this killing of each other and start doing and organizing for our community.
Yeah.
Because we used to get people from the Black Panther Party who used to come to our meetings and speak to us when we was the backstage. And we, all that stuff was running in my head, and plus what I was getting from my parents and other people that was into the what they call the revolution. Like Gil Scott-Heron said, the revolution would not be televised, but it was all those type of records that was hitting you in your head by Gil Scott. Niggas are scared of revolution by the last poet. And I tell people they should go back and check these records out. Including Unum, that was teaching you about the dollar bill and the New World Order way back then. Yeah. So we would have had all this knowledge on us and consciousness, and I try to push it to our community. Let's organize and build something and take a great name from the Zulus of Africa who fought for what was there in their land and use it with us over here to put on a thing called hip-hop culture. Bringing all the different elements together. We was the first to call it elements, but we don't, glorify stuff like that because I never did that. I always say, this is what started here. And I told Kool Herc, the father used to call himself the Godfather. I said, no, you was doing some of the beats, everything what we was doing on that side. So I said, well, we're going to give you the father, and I take the Godfather. And then most people don't know why we say Godfather of hip-hop culture or the father, because we took everything what James Brown was doing. Remember, he was the king of soul first.
Oh, yeah.
He became the Godfather after he did the soundtrack to the movie Black Caesar. And that was a mafia type movie. Mm-hmm. So, and a Godfather is not powerful than the king. So that's why I always tell people, put James Brown back in his righteous place as the king, because you're not going to call Elvis Presley the Godfather of rock.
No.
You're not going to call these other Mick Jagger the Godfathers of rock bands.
Right.
So put the James back as the king of soul. Mm-hmm. So all this was, vibing in the culture movement of hip hop, and giving the parties, bringing people together. You had your times where you had balance. Then you had other times where we were talking to the people in different communities. Come on, let's organize. Let's stop this. Let's put down things. Let's stop attacking each other in the area. Let's stop being niggas and sticks and all that. Because you got people today who arguing, the Puerto Ricans wasn't there, and this or that. Like a Puerto Rican is different from you. We don't like you. We use the words black, brown, yellow, red, and white people, but that's truly not our name. What is your nationality? What is your ancestry? What is your history, your story? Mm-hmm. So you got people arguing now today, YouTube and all this, Puerto Ricans was in there and this is it. And you got them that, I'm not black, I'm this and that. Like there's no such thing as you wasn't black and white as a Puerto Rican or Boricua, as a Dominicano. You didn't know you want to claim Latino, but you don't know your Moorish history, what happened before that.
Right.
So all this is gathering up, and we sound crazy today attacking each other over foolishness.
Thank you. You're right. You're definitely right about that. And I say the same thing. I say the same exact thing. My goodness. You've done so much. I mean, it's just when I think about the history of where you guys came from and being in the Bronx and being in the same area that you guys started was just a phenomenon today, for me. So I just wanted to find out, I mean, do you explain how hip hop evolved from its early days to become a global phenomenon?
Well, hip hop evolved from doing the parties, whether we was in the street, hooking up to a lamp pole in the park of New York City without permission, without a permit, and might have trouble with the police department somewhere down the line. Sometimes we never had no trouble, and we brought out our mothers and fathers and sisters, and aunts, uncles, and all the youth to dance to the music, like Flying the Family Stone said. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we could start with the regular R&B soul music, because before we started DJing, we used to have bands that came to the community who played live music. You know, like you would see Kool and the Gang who came out of Jersey. You know, you might see a band that coming in, they playing Kool and the Gang music. Then they might be playing Earth, Wind, and Fire. Then they might be playing Slide, James Brown. So when we started doing it on the turntable and stuff, people, you know, thought we was crazy. What they doing? They mixing, they blending. And we had other DJs before us who was killing it in the disco field, like DJ Jones, Flowers and Plumbers, and many Maboya out of Brooklyn. And they used to, you know, Brooklyn used to be heavy on that Lovers and Vexes by MSSB. But when it came to the Bronx, with the father Kool Herc, myself, and the Grandmaster Flash, and then the Grand Wizard Theodore, and Mean Gene, and AJ, and Breakout, Funky Four, and then all the groups was coming up. We started saying, now we're gonna, you know, disco. We was killing it for a while, but we said that's killing the vibe. We got to bring back all that funk music. So you start digging in the crate, your mama crate, your papa crate, your aunt's crate, and you start getting all those rare records. To get funky, to get the little breaks, the little part that made the crowd go crazy. And then sometimes you could play a whole song, like the Baby Huey that Herc used to play, or the Apache that Herc used to play, and all the other thousands of records that I brought out in breakbeats to keep the crowd rocking. So this was all part of the hip-hop culture movement. Then we had the people who would come and B-boy and B-girl at the event. Wasn't part of the culture yet. Then we had MCs who would come to be the masters of ceremonies. And you had, it wasn't first with the rock, y'all, to the beat, y'all, you don't stop. Then they start developing the rhymes, like what Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five was doing.
Right.
Like they was doing like the Last Poets and all these type of groups that was doing poetry. Then you had sisters like Queen Lisa Lee and Sha Rock and Pam Bada and all them who was some of the first women in hip hop that was doing it and had to challenge where it was like a man's world. But a lot of these ladies had to prove their point, and they got out there and kicked butt.
That's right.
In rhyming for the sisters and brothers. And most people don't speak about that. They try to do a thing for them sisters and accents a while back. So, you know, the culture just kept developing with movement, with different areas of the Bronx, and then different grooves and break beats. Each DJ had their own part of breaks that everybody recognized them for. And then we used to cover up our records for the spies who come in and try to say, what was that record the band was playing? What was that record Flash was playing? Oh, I was just joining that Kool Herc. And then we used to have it covered for everybody couldn't be looking at the record, so they couldn't understand unless you knew the colors of the label. You said, that's a Polydor record. I heard a grunt in there. Was that James? I heard something say rock, steady. Was that Aretha Franklin? Then you start spotting, you start digging in the crates of your parents to see what oldies or goodie records you had that would make your crowd rock and roll or funk and roll.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. I mean, the parties, the corner, even the kids, everybody was into it. It was just, and it still is amazing. I mean, living through that moment, you know, being a part of that moment, it's just amazing. How did that make you feel? And being a part of like all of the people that started this is to me, this is just iconic.
Well, see, it made me feel good that I could play all these different styles because most of the other DJs couldn't do what I was doing because their audience might not say, you know, if you wanted to play strictly rock, they might not go for it. But it was amazing with my audience. If I wanted to play the Rolling Stones' Honky Tonk Woman, the breakbeat, and then I wanted to play the whole song, they would still get the groove of it. If I wanted to play something from, you know, some people say, I don't like salsa, I don't like that. Well, you just dance your ass off to Eddie Palmieri or Ray Barretto when I was playing Ride On, which was called the Boogaloo Soul, when they started mixing salsa with soul music like Joe Bataan. So, and playing those breakbeats coming from salsa, from soca, from rock, and even putting back out the reggae was bringing a mashup of people together under the banner of the Universal Zoo Nation to our party. And then everybody else started getting back into the reggae. You would hear reggae now at Herc party. You could hear some reggae or maybe some soca at Grandmaster Flash because we all got Caribbean background.
Mm-hmm.
We all knew about I-Roy, U-Roy, Who-Roy, the toasting that was happening in Jamaica, and the other stuff that was happening. They were rapping in calypso music for a long time, the Mighty Sparrow and Calypso Rose and all that. But now we doing it with our American family of the United States, because a lot of people even get that mixed up.
Mm.
We say, I want to go to America, they thinking of the United States. No, the whole North, South, East, and Central is all America, people.
Right.
Please stop thinking the United States of America. That's just the United States of America Republic. Just like Brazil is still America. Just like Canada, Toronto, Montreal, and all that is still America.
Mm-hmm.
But all that started fighting all over the place, and we was giving, honor to the ancestors, all the funky music that we was playing, and people was like saying, wow, what's that? Where that breakbeat come from? So you just heard something in the South, so that was a breakbeat. You heard something from the soca music, that was a breakbeat. You heard something from King Floyd and Diana Ross, the Supremes, or the Temptations, that might have been a breakbeat.
Right. My gosh, that's just wow.
And enjoyment of the people when they was dancing was just amazing.
I know.
Even to see your mother and father out there, and you might say, hey, they might not want to hear some of this, so let's take something back. So we might throw on some Supreme, or we might throw on something with James Brown, Cat Standard, or Cold Sweat, and they just start doing their thing too. To see your mom and pop out there with the youth and with the teenagers was amazing.
Oh yeah. I had a different upbringing though. My mom is Evelyn Thomas. She sings the song High Energy, which was big time mixed in there. And I got the chance to actually see her become a big, household name, and the song, and then the mixing, and it was just amazing for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the disco era. High energy.
Yep. That's my mom. All
People
right.
forget about that.
Can't forget.
You
I
had to
can't
play disco at first.
That's what I'm saying.
Play disco at first.
Yeah. So hip hop and dance changed the cultural landscape in New York City and beyond. Think about it. Between the hip hop, the dance, the funk, all of that mixed in together, like you said, the soca and the salsa and the reggae, all of that was just like one big mesh, and nobody cared. It was just all great music.
That's right.
Wow.
That's right.
Wow. So DJ Kool Herc, what was his contribution and his significance to the contribution to hip hop?
Well, we give Kool Herc the credit, as we call him, the father of hip hop, coming from the West Bronx and bringing the big sound system that he was doing on that side of the Bronx, and Cedar Park, playing outside, or where he gave his first party over there on Sedgwick, as his sister says, and they was doing their thing. And he, at that time we didn't have to put out flyers. Kool Herc said, I'm going to be over at Taft High School Park, and everybody mother knew to go to Taft High School. I'll say I'm going to be in Bronx River or over at Soundview Project, and everybody knew to just come on over to the Soundview or the Bronx River area. But then as we started getting later on and sophisticated, when we started getting into the Executive Playhouse and the Garage and the T Connection and all of those underground clubs, then we started getting into the flyer making, which brought out the Flyer Kings, Buddy Esquire, Phase 2, Ed, and so many others that was doing all the flyers for us, that was bringing more different people to a lot of our events. Because we couldn't go to the clubs downtown, so they didn't want to hear nothing about that hippity-dippity type of stuff, what they used to, try to degrade it. Even the radio station, when we first came out with the first hip-hop type songs, giving credit also to the Fatback Band, who came out with King Tim III, which was more like the disco type rap. But then Sugar Hill and all the rest of them started coming out with more what was happening in the streets. So, Frankie and all them, Frankie Crock and all them wouldn't play all that stuff for a minute yet. So they thought it was going to be a fad. But, we still here, still going strong.
I hear that. My gosh, it's just so many, like you said, the Gap Band. And oh my gosh, these are bands that I was listening to when I was, like I said, when I was young, and it was at every party, especially Planet Rock. Okay, especially Planet Rock, Don't Stop. I mean, it was like, what? If you didn't play that song, you didn't have a party. I'm sorry. You could go home. Stop the party now. It was over, okay?
Mhm.
My gosh. So, can you talk about the creation of Planet Rock and its impact on hip hop music?
Well, Planet Rock took hip hop to another level. It brought it super up tempo. Um, in my early days of playing a lot of mashup music, I used to play what they call techno pop at my parties. I would play Trans Silver Express like Kraftwerk. I used to play another techno pop of Gary Newman, which was called Bombers. And then later on, when in the 80s, when we went out of the 70 area, so we was mixing with what was called punk rock.
Mm-hmm.
And later on, when they got so heavy that people were scared of the punk rock, they watered it down and started saying new wave. We started like in the club downtown called CBGB. Mm. So we was playing all this type of stuff, and then when it came to the 80s and I started playing, they invited me to start playing downtown. And I started playing like the grills and what the other thing was called? Used to be not Bronx International, that's a little later. I can't think of all the names right now. This is the dance floor, Danceteria, and all those type of new wave punk rock clubs. I started getting a big, large punk rock white following audience, and I even invited them to come up to the Bronx. And people thought it was going to be all type of racial fighting and everything. You fighting the punk rockers with the hip hop? Is you crazy? I said, no, we broke some barriers down here. So now we inviting them to come over to our area to come and play. And when we brought it together, because we used to do a dance called the punk rock, and they came in and was doing all this crazy dance, and they seen the hip hop people doing they type of dance, or they coolie dance that was happening at the time, whether it's the punk or all the types of dance that was happening at that time. And it both mixed together when we started playing all the different type records. We could play Once in a Lifetime. We could play Tom Tom Club, Genius of Love. We could play all these other the B-52s, Mesopotamia, and mixing it with the hip hop breakbeat records like Sugar Hill, Ace Wonder, and all that type of thing. Mm-hmm. And then once we got into the Roxy, it became like a super amazing thing that just started stretching all over. Everybody's coming from around the world. A lot of entertainers, a lot of artists was all coming down to the space for the Roxy because the Universal Zoo Nation was there, and also we was bringing other people, from Grandmaster Flash, DSP, Lousy, all these other fantastic rappers, and just mixing that new wave and funk and Rick James and Sly and Bootsy and all that, along with all those punk rock groups and bands, and the people was loving it. Mm-hmm. And then when we started doing the beatbox and the vocoder and all that, that just, started leading up for me to make the song called Planet Rock. Yeah. And I said, I got to make something that's going to change this whole game. So we never knew that it was going to take off for the world. I was only making it for the so-called black people, Latino, and the new wave punk rockers, the whites that was coming to our events. Mm-hmm. But then it just took off when we took that groove of Kraftwerk numbers and mixed it with Trans Silver Express and add some of that Super Sperms from Captain Sky and add another record called The Mexican by Beirut. It just took off.
Wow.
And then it was the start of hip house, electro funk, Miami bass, Rio funk, Bali funk, mm-hmm. EDM, and all this other type of things that keep changing down the line in different categories of music.
Wow. I have to say that just must have been, okay, so it must have been just something you were doing at the time, but now that you look back on it, did you know you were being, in that moment, did you know that this was going to change everything about music?
Not really. Like I said, we was doing the music for that particular group of people.
Right.
And we didn't know that we was making history. Because to us, we was doing peace, unity, love, and having fun. Uh-huh. just enjoying ourselves and just making music.
Wow. Wow. So now that you look back on that, knowing that that was a historical moment and you were there and you were a part of it, an instrumental part of it, what kind of advice do you give to the people now that are trying to do things?
Well, my advice to sisters and brothers and sisters is be real. Don't be hating. If you're going to be in the music of hip hop and you making songs and you sample or you take somebody other artist's thing, don't be in greed and don't give them no credit. So that's when all the fighting in between the R&B and all the other people started fighting, Barry White and Prince and all them, because everybody was just stealing their music and wasn't giving them credit. No, when you give them some credit or you put them out as publishers with you, then things will run smoothly.
Mm-hmm.
And then listen to your certain crowd. Don't let the radio dictate to you to be making songs to be nigga, hoe, bitch, and all that type of stuff. If you want to say something consciousness, say it. Mm. Some people have to follow some of these labels because they want to, pinbox you into different areas of categories of music that they want you in. Mm-hmm. I used to fight my company just like Prince was fighting to put up the type of music he did. Same with me. He put the slave on his face. I used to say, no, you're not going to put me just, I'm do hip hop. My mind is too far out to just say I'm just a hip hop artist. That's why I did songs with John Lydon, the king of punk rock, and made the song World Destruction. Mm-hmm. That's why I got with Nona Hendrix and Boy George, and we did Curtis Mayfield, giving him something he could feel, slow jams and stuff. That's why I got with Nina Hagen in Germany to do her song Ecstasy, because she was a queen of punk at that time. Mm-hmm. So, different styles of music, worked with so many different artists that I have worked with, Sting and other people, just to show people, don't try to categorize hip-hop people. When Queen Latifah wanted to do the disco song that she did, she could sing.
Yeah.
Why are you trying to hold up from singing? Why are you trying to hold De La Soul from taking you to the Daisy Lazy or wanting to take you to the flower of power that was happening in the 60s? Hip-hop could go anywhere in the world. It could go underground. It could go to hell. It could go to heaven. It could go to space. It could bring you back to science and anything what anybody want to rap about.
Oh, yeah.
You want to be gangster, you can be gangster. Like NWA and all that other things, the Ghetto Boys, Hip-hop has so many styles of music, and you're going to be on a radio station and you only going to play one style of music? Who told you to do that, program director? Mm. What was you trying to program in the people that you just want to play kill and stab you up and shoot you all day long, and you're not playing no conscious records, you're not playing no breakbeat records, you're not playing Grandmaster Flash on the Wheels of Steel, you're not playing the poetry raps of Gilshot Heroin or Last Poet. What's wrong in playing all this different music for the people? Mm-hmm. Mm. Mm-mm-mm.
You're so right.
Remember when they had to turn off the radio campaign? Mm-hmm. I don't know if you remember that.
You know what? I don't know if I did notice.
Yeah, they had all that back then in the early days when people got tired of what was being said. They had to turn off the radio campaign. Then you had the other groups come like Public Enemy and other than that to come out and tell you about Fight Power, KRS-One, just telling you about
I do.
Brutality.
I remember that.
The Black Cop and all that. Yep.
Yeah, I do.
Then you had the Grave Diggers, the ones that were taking you to the be in hell and everything. So, hip hop was just all over the place.
Oh, yeah.
Amazing how we get the music.
My goodness. So there is a relationship between activism and hip hop, and how hip hop is being used as a platform for social and political change then.
Oh, most definitely. It was always some activism with the groups that wanted to do activism. You had others that didn't care about none of that. They just were just making music. I'm trying to get paid and this and that. But you had people that was really concerned. You could hear it in their music that had straight up consciousness. There was many consciousness groups out there. But then there was a time when the labels or certain radio stations wasn't playing that. Because they wanted a program. People got to understand what a program director is to program the minds of the masses of the people. So I just want you to talk about, Kyle Kanai in certain type of fashion. Well, that's what they was going to push on that label because it was the people that's paying the bill is telling them what they want to be pushed. You might have people that had to argue with their labels like Prince to say, I'm a real artist. I got to play the music I feel. I might not be the same music because I had a hit with Kiss or a hit with When Doves Cry. I might come out with it Around the World in 80 days. Or if I was flying a Family Stone, telling you to dance to music, I ain't going to make 10 records about dancing music. I'm going to tell you about we are everyday people. You can make it if you try. Everybody is a star. This is a family affair. Don't call me nigga whitey. Damn.
I hear that.
All right.
I hear that. My gosh. Wow. So how has hip hop been influenced by other genres of music and cultural movements?
Oh, it's definitely been influenced by a lot. Like I said, you had certain artists like Digital Planet that might take some of the jazz, or Tribe Called Quest that might take something from a jazz or salsa. Same like you had people that did hip hop R&B, like or hip hop house or hip house, like Delight when she did Grooves in the Heart, which was taken from the salsa of Ray Barretto's Ride On. And then you had other people who would take up the electro funk of Afrika Bambaataa and Sonic 4. And you have other people that would take the Miami bass or want to be with Uncle Luke and all of them that want to be as nasty as they want to be. That was also, and everybody think it started with Luke, but you forgot about Millie Jackson and Blowfly and all those types of people that was doing also rap at their time.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
It's just our community. It's our genes.
Wow. Man, Afrika Bambaataa, thank you so much for being on the show. I truly, truly appreciate you explaining everything, telling people how this happened. I mean, hip hop is a staple now in the music industry that will never, ever go away. Ever. Okay? And Planet Rock is like, it's the beginning of it as far as I'm concerned, and especially since that was my first introduction to hip hop. So in your opinion, what has been the biggest challenge facing hip hop culture, and how have you guys overcome those challenges?
The biggest challenge in hip hop is of respect of each other's art. Of knowing that hip hop is not, when you say hip hop, automatically you just think of rap. If you're going to say hip hop, you're dealing with the whole culture, the B-boys, the B-girls, the aerosol riders, the DJs, the MCs, everybody that played a role in making this happen in your community, nationally, internationally. And as I always say, everything that I have told people back then, where people thought I was crazy, is all in their face now. When I used to talk about we are not alone, we was never alone. Now everybody, TikTok, everything talking about all the aliens and this and that, and what's behind the house war, and is the world flat, is the world circle, is it round, and this and that. It's everything we told you back then is in your face now. So the biggest thing is hip hop that we got to face is reality. Because what you think is your reality, or what you thought was your fantasy, becomes your reality, and what you thought was your reality becomes your virtuality. So know that you could take hip hop anywhere you want to go in this world and beyond, and must respect each other's ways and actions and the art of how we do this, and respect who came before you. So you ain't nothing but what your ancestors was yesterday. You are still today.
Yes. Wow. Well said. Thank you so much. Afrika Bambaataa, what are you doing today? Where can people find you? Where can they follow you? And where can they comment and thank you?
Okay, well, we have new music that's just been released online. I got a soca house jam called Pressure, Part 1, Part 2, Part 3, that's online with a video on YouTube. We also got a song that we did with the Rolling Stones, Honky Tonk Woman, which is also has a video on YouTube. And we also got another group that come out called the Systematic Drum Lords, which is like a dubstep EDM type song that we're doing. So we're still putting out a lot of music. There's still a lot of old timers who are, or what we call true schoolers, putting out music. Mm-hmm. And I also been traveling all around the world working with different people and different music as well as different people from around the world. So we out there still teaching, still trying to get people on the peace, unity, love, and having fun, overcome the negative to the positive.
That's right.
And doing something for each other, by each other.
Awesome. Well,
and respecting
you're breaking up.
So many people
you were breaking up.
Respect our planet. And you mean?
I said you were breaking up. Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. Can you?
Yeah.
Okay. We get back to this planet because too much is on our planet now, trying to cleanse herself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wow. Well, Afrika Bambaataa, thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, Afrika Bambaataa, I am just so excited to have you. Thank you so much for your time and your music and your dedication and for just making my life that much better. Thank you.
Honors to you. Peace and blessings upon you.
And you too. And everyone, we're going to have all of that information in the description box so that you can go and listen to the new music. Follow, like, and comment. Please go there. This is a legend, guys. And I'm just telling you, I'm just so honored. I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. Don't forget to dare to be different. And until next time, guys, bye. Thank you so much for stopping by. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to this channel. Hit that notification bell so you'll be notified the next time that I upload. And don't forget to dare to be different. Until next time, guys. I dare to be different. I dare to be different. I dare to be